Welcome to my world history notes, where I read from the book I wrote to teach world history to homeschoolers called A Bible Believer Looks at World History. You may not agree with the conclusions I draw, but you should know about the events, at least the events I discuss very superficially on a survey, and you should dig into those if you're interested in them. But you should know about these places, people, events, and concepts to be conversant in world history. So let's begin. Today, we'll pick up where I left off last time. I'm going to go to India. The Kushan Empire marks the era of Indian politics in the first few centuries after. Oh, I forgot to tell you, you can find my book on lulu.com, amazon.com, or at the Bible Baptist bookstore. Um, and Amazon also has other commentaries I've done on the Bible. So the Kushan Empire marks the era of Indian politics in the first few centuries after Christ's birth. The Kushans, a Central Asian tribe related to the Turks, captured Kabul, which is what is now Afghanistan, in what is now Afghanistan, and from that city reigned over northwestern India and much of Central Asia. Their greatest king, Kanishka, encouraged the arts and sciences with Greco-Buddhist architecture at its height. Beautiful buildings were erected in Peshawar, Taxila, and Mathura. The famous Dr. Charaka advanced the art of medicine, and religious leaders Nagarjuna and Ashvaghosha created the foundation of Mahayana, greater vehicle Buddhism, which was spread to China and Japan. Kanishka experimented with many religions and many gods, but he finally settled on the newer form of Buddhism, which made Buddha a god and created many spiritual beings. He, like Constantine, called a great council of Buddhist theologians to create a creed for his kingdoms. The Gupta Dynasty followed the Kushan in the 4th century under the reign of Chandragupta I, who is different from the earlier Chandragupta Maurya. His successor, Samudra Gupta, became one of the most famous of India's kings. He conquered Bengal, Assam, Nepal, and southern India, and spent the treasure he extorted from his vassal states promoting literature, the arts, and science and religion. He himself was a noted musician and poet. His son, Vikramaditya, extended his conquest and was noted for supporting the great dramatist Kalidasa, who worshipped the god Shiva, known as the destroyer, death, shatterer of worlds. It was during this age that the Hindu people had religious liberty and great wealth, according to 5th century traveler Fa Yen. The Hun invasions interrupted this golden age as it interrupted Rome's hegemony over the Western world, but this for later. The famous Historia Augusta mentioned previously, the collection of biographies of Roman emperors, mentions a delegation probably from the Kushan Empire to Rome. They are called by the Romans Bactrians and Indians, and their delegation visits Rome in the time of the Emperor Hadrian. The Chinese historical chronicle Hu Hanshu also relates the trade between Rome, who the Chinese called Dakin, and northwestern India. Archaeologists have found a great deal of imported goods in Kushan cities from the Roman Empire. Kushan India had many contacts with China also, and even allied with China on military ventures, but this resulted in war and then finally being forced to pay tribute to China due to a squabble over a princess. Buddhist missionaries went to China and then to Japan. Like Rome, the Kushan Empire was eventually divided into eastern and western half, and then began the inevitable decline, losing its military conquest and enduring the shrinking of its territory. In the same era, the 1st century, there was a split from the Parthian kingdom to form a short lived Indo Parthian kingdom, which was absorbed into the Kushan kingdom in less than a century. Another political entity was known as the Western Satrapas, Kshatrapas, which ruled northern and central India, also defeating the Satavahanas. They were eventually conquered by the Gupta Dynasty, which followed the Kushan. Now, in Persia, from 208 to 226 is the time of the rise of Ardashir of Sassan in central Persia. He subdued his neighbors in the area of Persepolis, and in now Persia today we call that Iran. And a series of campaigns climaxed by the bloody Battle of Ormuz in southern Iran, he established a Sassanid empire. He then seized the Parthian capital at Ctesiphon and declared himself the successor of the Persian dynasty of Cyrus and Darius found in the Bible. Their dynasty was called the Achmented Dynasty by historians. He conquered parts of Central Asia, most of Darius's Persian domains, and Afghanistan, but was thwarted in the west by the weakened but still powerful Rome. He demanded that Rome withdraw from all of their Asian provinces, and when this demand was ignored, he invaded Syria and Armenia, which was ruled by Khosroes, a Roman puppet. Some parties of this army reached Antioch and the Cappadocian Mountains in the area of present-day Turkey. This Roman-Persian war ended by mutual consent after very little was accomplished but the return of Rome's Middle Eastern provinces. Ardashir's son Shapur then went on to have two wars with Rome beginning in 241, which ended in his being driven from Rome's provinces in 266 by Odenathus, a Romanized Arab, Prince of Palmyra. Persia continued to be a power in the region until Islam's rise. It constantly presented a problem to Rome until a treaty in 390 between Theodosius of Rome and Bahram IV of Persia. In Africa and Arabia, the power of Aksum waxed between 200 and 400 until the Sabaean revolt in northeastern Yemen by the Jews living there weakened Aksumite control over southwestern Arabia. The king, Izana, contributed a great deal to Aksum's power by extending control over southern Arabia, Somalia, and Ethiopia from 320 to 325. He also helped Christianize the region. In 350, an Aksumite expedition sacked Meroe and destroyed the ancient Kushite kingdom. And from a scientific side of things, we find the physician Charaka in India representing ethical standards to be required for those caring for the sick, including purity, cleverness, kindness, good behavior, and competence in cooking, as apparently he felt these things needed to be standardized. This was around the year 100. At around the year 400, slightly after the time of what I'm talking about, it's said that the Indian physician Susruta describes plastic surgery operations for earlobe deformity, skin grafting, and rhinoplasty or nasal reconstruction. With regard to the arts, in the 100s, Sanskrit drama with both religious and secular themes began to appear in India and flourish for the next 1,000 years. In the 200s, Indian dramatist Basha writes what are called verse dramas, including the famous Dream of Vasavadata. Now, I do mispronounce some things, I apologize, but you can look these things up and study them and get the right pronunciation on your own. Next, we're going to talk about the Americas, starting about the year 200. So please bear with me. I look forward to talking to you again.